Welcome to the Made in Monroe podcast. Today I've got Nash Patel with Southern Hospitality Services with us. Nash, thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I know a little bit of your story, just we get to work together in the same building. And so, but I really want to go back to the beginning of your story. And so you came to the United States from England in 1979.
Correct.
How in the world did you end up in Monroe, Louisiana?
Well, you know, my story is really is unique to me, but it's not unique to a lot of people from the Indian culture.
Right.
A lot of folks moved from England to America to kind of pursue the American dream. And so typically my parents moved from England in 1979 to Oklahoma. Okay. And we got into the hotel business, really not sight unseen, just like, hey, this is a business where you can live on the business, run the business, and you know all your expenses are absorbed. It kind of made sense.
Right.
So that's what we did. You know, ourselves and many other Indians that immigrated the same way. And then from there, we just kind of moved forward. But in our case, we had the oil bust, and things kind of turned south and sour very quickly. But I was still in college and everything, so finished college. Of all things, I was a med tech. So, you know, don't ask me why I'm in this business now. But anyway, from there, we kind of moved around a few places and ended up landing in Mississippi, where I leased a hotel from a gentleman, just a 40-unit motel that I leased. And he just wanted a security deposit and a promise that I wouldn't ruin it.
Wow.
So that's what we did. And that's how I ended up back into the hotel business. So we were there in Mississippi about 7 years, running this property and fixing it up, you know, with the idea that, hey, look, I'm spending my good, well-earned money, but I'm going to reap the rewards of it immediately, which was kind of out of the box thinking, because a lot of folks saying, hey, why are you spending money on somebody else's hotel? But, you know, it made sense to me, and that's what we did. And then in 1993, we actually built a hotel in Macomb, Mississippi, where I ran into Dad.
Yes.
He just bought the Holiday Inn across the street. So we've been crossing paths for a long time, and we've been friends for a long time. But so we built that, and then in 1994 is when we decided to build a Hampton here in Monroe, which is when they just came out with like an exterior prototype, brand new for a smaller market. So that's how we ended up here in Monroe.
Wow, what a journny to get here, right?
Yeah.
So I want to go back to something that you said. So you started out in microbiology. And so what made you want to go into that? And then why did you leave that and end up back in the hotel industry?
Well, yeah, so I always wanted to be a pharmacist. And I don't know where that was implanted from, but even as a child, it's like, I want to be a pharmacist. So I did microbiology, I got into pharmacy school, and then I come to the realization I can't do this for the rest of my life. So I kind of quit early. Okay. You know, and being young and not as smart as I should have been, I quit early and then went back and became a medical technologist instead. Lower pay. You know, you just don't do the smartest things.
Sometimes you got to go back to get forward, though, right?
Right. Yeah. So I did that. I actually worked that for about 5 years. Okay. And then when we moved from Oklahoma to Orlando, which is when I got out of that and decided to become self-employed at that point. So.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about Southern Hospitality Services. How did it start? How did it begin? Who all's involved in it? And what do you guys do?
Sure, yeah. So like I said, I was in Oxford, Mississippi, and my partner back then, he was building just hotels between him and his family. He had built one in Ruston. He'd built 2 in Vicksburg. And then he asked me if we wanted to partner and come to Monroe, which is what we did. So originally we were just out here to build one hotel. And then a few years later, my wife joined the company, and then with her coming on board, we decided to add a Comfort Suites right next door, which is what we did. So it's like, okay, it's becoming a growing family business. And then we decided, you know, that if we want to get into the higher brands, you know, like Marriott, et cetera, they weren't going to accept us as a franchisee, as an operating partner in one of their franchise hotels, just because we didn't have the structure. So that's when we decided to let's form Southern Hospitality Services and put some structure in place and get approved so we can build and manage also. Right. So that's how Southern Hospitality started. That's my partner, Roy Patel, he and I basically put the company together, and it's still a family-owned business. And it's grown. Our goal was to build one property a year, and pretty much we've stuck to that.
Wow.
And each time we usually bring in another family member
Yeah.
so that they grow along with us. And that's where we are today. So now we're building 2 or 3 at a time.
We're doing something with you too.
Absolutely, yes.
We get to do family business. We get to work together. It's
well,
great.
literally, we have an extended family, right?
Right.
And I think that's the key is keeping that, no matter how large you get or what direction you take, keeping that family dynamic in place is very important.
It is important.
Yeah.
Going back to kind of the early days of your career, what were some of the most impactful things you learned, whether it was through your successes or your failures, that really have kind of made you who you are today?
Sure, yeah. Well, one of the things that you'll hear from me most often is, look, don't ask anybody to do anything you wouldn't do yourself.
Yeah.
And that goes from like the early days, it was 24/7. You rented the rooms, you cleaned the rooms, and you fixed the rooms. So there was nothing that we didn't do.
Yeah.
And I think that really was very impactful, because you appreciate what every piece that everybody else does. And that's what makes you realize it's not a one-person game. It doesn't matter who's got the title, everybody's working to make it a success.
When I think the value from that too is that when you do every different job, you really understand what people are going through when they're in those positions. So when things come up or struggles come up, you understand it because you've been there.
Exactly. You've done it, and if you're looking from a broad perspective, sometimes it doesn't make sense. But when you've done it, hey, it makes sense. Hey, things happen, decisions have to be made, and at the time. So.
Right.
Definitely.
So what do you see the future of Southern Hospitality Services looking like?
We have our goal, obviously, to add more hotels. I've diversified a little bit off into the storage facility business, the car wash business, but primarily we're going to stay in the hotel business. And the goal is basically just to go up to larger, bigger, and better.
Yeah.
So
continue to grow.
Continue to grow, exactly. Yeah.
So you've built a really successful company, you and your team. You could be anywhere in the world, quite literally, doing what you're doing, but you chose to come to Monroe, and then you chose to plant roots here.
Right.
Why did you choose to plant roots here?
Well, you're right. We could go anywhere in the world, and we travel a lot, but it's always great to come back to Monroe. Monroe is home, and it's home, primarily it's the people here.
Yeah.
The people are what keeps me coming back. And it's always like, I love to visit all kinds of places, but to call this place home, it's an honor to be here, literally.
Well, one of the things I've loved watching you do too is that you planted roots here with your family and your business, but you really have planted roots in the community, and you've gotten involved in the community. I love seeing you around. We sit on some boards together. And so what piece of advice would you give to somebody that is wanting to become more involved in the community and not just be somebody that lives here, but they're really engaged here?
Oh, absolutely. If you've got to be, there's so much fulfillment that comes out of being part of the community, and whatever your desire is, or whatever you like to do, like you said, we serve on several boards. Most of them are related to the industry, but I've served on the Strauss Theater board. I've served on the Boy Scouts board. These are all things that just for interest's sake, And I think to be involved in the community is important, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in something that you do for a living. Just do something just for the fun of it.
Right.
And it's nothing more rewarding than seeing good things come out to help other people that you can be a part of.
I think giving back to a community that's given so much to us too, and you want to leave it a little bit better than you found it, because you've got kids that are here too,
Absolutely, and thankfully my son Ross he decided to move back after going to Utah and Colorado, and that's the best reward that one could ask, is to have your family come back.
Absolutely. Well, Nash, I've loved hearing your story and just how you got to where you are today. I can't wait to continue to see you guys grow and just to see where Southern Hospitality Services goes from here. One of the other things that I want to ask you is we've got Meta coming to town. I think that's kind of the big news for our surrounding areas right now, and really what has us on the map right now.
Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of families that are moving to our area that are looking to explore whether it be temporary roots here or possibly permanent roots here.
Right.
What advice would you give to them about planting roots here, getting involved in the community, ways that they can do that? But even just if there's some nervousness with that, because a lot of them may be leaving bigger cities to come to somewhere when they're like Monroe. You're bringing me to Monroe.
Right.
But Monroe's a special place. So can you kind of expound on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it can be, I think Monroe can be a culture shock if you come from, let's say you're moving from New York or Denver, or because these folks are coming from all over the country. But it can be a culture shock in a good way. You know, yes, it's a slower pace. You can enjoy life a little bit more. You get, you know, breathe a little. You know, we've got more and more venues that are opening up. We got, if you look at the events calendar from the CVB, for example, there is not one weekend when you can say I've got nothing to do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what people's perception sometimes. Oh, there's nothing to do. Oh, I promise you, there's so much to do. You'll get tired.
Your calendar.
Yeah, you know, you'll say, "Gosh, I need a weekend to stay home and do nothing." But there's so much here to do, and you know, it may be different to what you know. You may not have, you know, the big opera there, but hey, we've got the Strauss Theater.
Yeah.
You know, we've got something that will take its place.
Absolutely.
And you just got to be kind of open-minded enough to venture and try new things. And I think it can be a very, very pleasant place to live.
Yeah. So going back, I have another question about your company that I forgot to ask. What is something that sets Southern Hospitality Services apart from other companies? What makes you different?
Yeah, one of my principles for the company and for our team is basically we like to search out talent from within. All of my managers are basically promoted from within, from housekeeping, from night auditors, from whatever. So if people are willing to put in the time and the effort, then we're willing to let them grow and grow their potential to maximize whatever their capabilities are. And I think that makes us very different. I don't like to go out and, you know, start searching for people when you have talent right within. Yeah. So give them the opportunity and they'll rise with you.
Right.
So, and I think that's kind of makes us a little unique.
Well, you're really invested in people, it sounds like. Whenever they come on board, you're invested in figuring out what their giftings are and continuing to help them kind of grow and climb the ladder.
Absolutely. And, you know, we, like I said, everybody's worked their way up. And, you know, it's great to see that we've impacted not just their lives, but their kids' lives. You know, they're now able to possibly go to college. They may be able to see careers that they would never have thought of. They have to get out of Monroe if they wanted to, and you know, seek a further education, whatever. So we feel like doing that, you make a generational impact.
Well, you do. You make a big difference in the lives of people that may not have had the opportunity otherwise.
Yeah.
And, I think that's really important. You're adding value and you're giving back.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that's what makes us unique. And I think that's, you know, I hope to say it makes us a preferred employer.
Absolutely. So what are your kids are in the business.
Yeah.
Where do you see them taking the business beyond your years?
Yeah, when I go, Sue and I travel a lot. So when we go to this nice fancy resorts or this, you know, 1,200 room convention hotel or whatever, and I've always said, hey, one day we'll do this, you know. And the steps it's changed from, you know, one day it was like, oh, we'll have a Holiday Express, or one day we'll have a Courtyard, and now it's like, okay, one day we'll have this 1,200 room convention hotel.
And you can.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully they continue the dream and continue loving what they're doing and grow it to that. Yeah.
Well, I think that's so inspiring to me to hear you say that, because those are very similar to the conversations we have with our dad, in that the sky's the limit. Continue to dream,
That's
continue to think that you can, and continue to try to go bigger than he's gone, you know?
Yeah.
And so I can remember as a little kid, one of the things he would tell me is, Colby, the world is a blank canvas. I want you to go throw all the paint on it that you can.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's always been a risk taker. And I
Right.
feel like you're kind of the same way. And I think in order to be successful, like you guys have been, there's got to be a little bit of that risk. Like, I'm going to
Yep.
jump and then think about it a little bit in there. And obviously, you make some calculated decisions along the way,
Yeah.
too. But I feel like those are things that you guys kind of pass down to us, and then we're able to run with them kind of in our own little vein.
Yeah.
But I'll be interested to see what your kids do.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah, Dewey and I feel like, you know, we are the same.
You are.
You know, and not just us, but most people in our business kind of
Yeah.
go that way. And
Right.
that's just in life in general. You have to be a risk taker, and you have to dream big.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, Nash, I've really enjoyed sitting down with you and talking about your company, your family, how you've gotten to where you are today. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, and very nice speaking with you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.